Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. This is podcast number 1 of hopefully a lot more than this.
It'll be a lot.
We haven't even decided what we want to name this podcast series, so you're not going to get a name. And in just kind of visiting organically about some of the topics we wanted to cover today, we thought maybe we could call this Therefore What? I was thinking of calling it Lessons I Learned from Buddy the Elf and my Uber driver.
There you go.
So we can get into that. It's interesting because, well, let's do some introductions first before we get into that. My name is Janet Thurgood, and I'm a quantum healing practitioner, and I'm also a mentor. And I'm here with Tyson Thompson. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Tyson.
I am Tyson Thompson, U.S. Air Force retired and graduate of the School of Hard Knocks. Like PhD in Hard Knocks.
You got your PhD in it?
Yeah, doctor. They call me Doctor Hard Knocks.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, I think...
Hey, I was thinking too...
I think a lot of us get into that category. Lots of hard lessons learned over a person's lifetime. We were talking the other day, and I thought this would be really fun to cover some of this stuff, but we were talking the other day about how can people go through so much accomplishment and have prosperity and abundance. I mean, it seems like we have so much, especially in this country that we live in, but even globally, we have so much at our fingertips, and there's so much opportunity in the world, and yet there's just so many sick and depressed and anxious people who are very unfulfilled. So let's talk a little bit about why that is.
Sure. So I really subscribe to the great comedic philosopher Louis C.K. Actually, I don't subscribe to a ton that he's done, but he has one sketch that he did. I think it was on Late Night with Conan O'Brien or something, and it's entitled, it's on YouTube, you can look it up, Everything's Amazing and Nobody's Happy. And he goes to this whole process of he's like, everything is the most amazing it's ever been in the history of the world, and nobody's happy. Like, we have more technology, more ease of life, more abundance than any generation ever. And he's like, and it's wasted on the biggest bunch of whiners in the history of mankind. And he's right. And at the same time, I'm like, okay, but why are people whining, right? Like, his comedic stretch and sketch in that is awesome. Go listen to it. It'll make you die laughing, but it should also make you stop and question, like, why is it so funny? I said this to somebody earlier today. What makes comedy funny? Because there's an element of truth in it that gets us right in the funny bone, right? Like, It is true. Why is it true? I don't think it's that inherently all these people in the world are whiners. I think it's because they've lost focus on the two most fundamental elements of the human experience, which in my opinion should be, why am I here and what's my mission or my purpose? And when we get away from that and we get so absorbed in playing in the fake world of social media, or playing in the fake world of caring about who's winning the most football games in a season, or pick your poison, and that becomes our focus, it takes us away from genuinely connecting with human beings like we are face to face, even though it's through the computer, right?
Yeah.
And takes us out of human connection and takes us out of fulfillment and puts us in a place where we start hating everything around us. We start hating the world.
We've been sold a bill of goods. We have, because we've been taught through media and through, I don't know, just global programming that we gotta have a good job. We gotta seek for a good companion or a partner, and we have to have a nice house, and we have to have nice things, and like you said, we got to pursue and keep up with the latest and the greatest. And so it's all this external stimulus, and nobody's going inside. And so as a result of that, we you and I both as mentors see this all the time. I've seen it over and over and over for 15 years. And I can almost give you verbatim what most people say to me when they come into my office or we work over the phone for the first time. I feel lost. I feel empty. I feel aimless. I feel
Hopeless.
depressed. I'm full of anxiety. Like, and they might have fancy houses and big cars and all of those things that the world programs us is where happiness lies, but we've been sold a bill of goods because that you cannot, happiness doesn't come from external stimuli. It comes from going within
Yeah.
and, like you said, finding out who you are and what you were put here on the earth to do.
Yeah. Yesterday, we had a really fundamental conversation, Janet and I did over the phone with a really good friend of ours. And shout out to Eric. This guy's had everything taken from him. Like, he has nothing. And yet he is one of the most genuine, connected, considerate, loving, amazing people you'll ever meet in your life. He's like the Dalai Lama, right? Or like a Buddha, or like, he just has that centeredness. And for him, he would be honored if I said he reminds me of what I think Jesus Christ is, right? Like, he just sits in this place of stillness and inner peace, even though by his own admission, he doesn't know how his bills are going to get paid next month. But he's so connected. He like gave up the 6-figure job and the big house and all the cars and all that stuff to really simplify and go, no, like, I'm going to live a different way. I'm going to live life on purpose with a purpose instead of being driven for a purpose that he didn't stop after 40 years to think about why he was doing it. And I've watched my own family members, grandparents, people that I love and respect subscribe to this, go to school, get a good job, stay in the same company, blah, 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 or whatever paradigm they're operating in. And they're not any happier than they were when they started. In fact, they're less happy because they've continued to kick the can of happiness down the road. Like, okay, whenever I get done with college and I've got the good job and I've got the house and the car, then I'm going to be happy. And then they're like, okay, whenever we get the kids raised and off and out of the house and we get that RV and we are cruising down the interstate, then I'm going to be happy. And pretty soon they're dead. And they're like, oh, wait, I forgot to be happy. So, like, choose it right now is where Janet and I spend a lot of time talking to people.
Yeah.
And that's a hard concept.
Yeah. So enter my Uber driver that I spent a good half hour, 45 minutes with in San Diego just a few months ago. And I loved what he said. I thought it was really profound. I actually wrote it down because I was like, he is so right. And he said he's from Mexico. He grew up in Mexico. And he said, I think I'm going to move back. And I said, wow, why? Because most people are trying to get in, right?
Right.
He said, I don't like living in the United States because so many people have so much, like there's so much gluttony here and there's so much prosperity here, and yet people use it to just destroy and ruin their lives. Like they just throw their lives away. And he said people in Mexico live very simple, humble lives. They have nothing, and yet they're happy. They act like they have everything.
Yeah, and if you know the culture of the Mexican people, very family centric. Like they are purposefully driven to connect with people, the people around them, and the people in their community. And somehow I'll just poke the America right in the chest, right? Spent a whole career defending this country, served in Afghanistan, and we're terrible at connecting with each other because, like you said, Janet, it's seriously what I envisioned when you were talking was everybody's at Disneyland. It's like I just run from one line to the next to do the next fun thing. And where's the substance in that? Like, where's the substance of getting a board game out? Everyone plugs your phones in and everybody sits around the table and, and plays a board game together as a family. That doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah. We're all headed for burnout instead because we're so focused on our phones and our jobs and our things and all the external stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah. People, it's disgusting to me that people get together in a restaurant and you watch, and there's like a family of 4, right? Parents and 2 kids, and everybody's on their phone like the whole time. and I get sick, I get ill. Like, I can't wait a lot of times now, and I'm getting better at this, at being intentional with it, to plug my phone in at night and leave it somewhere else so I can connect with the people that are in my life. Like, I spend all day on the phone. I just said this to Janet earlier today, and it takes a considerable amount of energy to hold space, to help people in their healing and finding themselves and whatever. But when I get home, like, I need to just be in that space with the people that are my why.
Yeah.
They're the why of why
Be
I do what I
present with the people that are in your presence.
do. Right. Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I love that.
So I think that for me, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, enter in Buddy the Elf. Why were we talking about that the other day? Because I think the concept is so profound.
I'm a movie guy. Actually, my call sign in the military, when I was at ground combat school, they're sitting around and we're coming up with people's call signs the night before we actually start running live training missions. And it was like unanimous right out of the chute. My buddy Latimer goes, Thompson is Netflix, because I quote movies all the time. So my call sign was Netflix. And so I think in movie lines a lot, and I think in movie personalities. And when we were talking about this concept, I'm like, no, I am choosing today to be more like Buddy the Elf. He runs around in New York City like it is the best thing he's ever seen. Remember, he kicks the door open in that little cafe? I think it was like an Indian family running the cafe or whatever, right? And he runs in the door and he's like, because the sign outside says America or world's best cup of coffee. He like kicks the door open. He's like, congratulations, everybody. World's best cup of coffee. We did it. Right? I wish I could have known all of you. Nice to meet you. And then he walks out. And everything's that way. He gets in the revolving door at, I think it was Macy's or whatever, and he just stays in it like, ah. And he's like so excited to run across the street that he learned a very important lesson, which is watch out for the yellow ones. They don't stop, right? Talking about cabs, they'll run you over. Just like he just lived his life the whole time he was there in crescendo, in pure joy. Even though he's going through like this identity crisis, he's going through an identity crisis of I'm not really an elf. And now I'm trying to find my dad who doesn't want anything to do with me because he's crazy. And that's okay. Like, I'm going to live in a department store and like decorate at night because I don't know, like I'm just going to choose to be happy in this terrible thing. And
but
I'm
there's
like,
so much truth to that. So much truth to that because he acts like a little kid, right? So like most of us as little children really did. That's at the time in our life when we were the most connected to who we really are. It was when we were innocent and had that childlike, simple joy about us, like Buddy the Elf.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And we like to have fun. And we weren't afraid to have fun and laugh and be silly. And I have to remind myself of that. I have a 6-year-old at home. And sometimes I'm like, you know what? Stop being so starched, right? Like, take off your uniform. You're home now and you're retired. Plug in your phone. And I don't remember what we were sitting and laughing about the other night. Oh, so we're driving home from church the other day. I'll give you this example. We're driving home from church. And I was making some statement to my son about something completely different. But I was like, oh, it was a movie line. I was like, what in the world can that be? Which is from Princess Bride, right? And my daughter, 6 years old, this is where she lives all the time, out of nowhere yells, Canadians, right? Like out of nowhere, she just yells. That's a good joke for you, right? Like we live so close to the border that like she just yelled Canadians. And we all, like, I almost passed out. I almost had to pull over. And we all laughed, right? And I'm like, if we would have been on our phones and I would have just been like irritated and driving in my old self from 2 years ago before I became awake, I would have totally missed one of the funniest things that's happened in my life ever. Canadians.
See, she's just being like Buddy the Elf.
Right. Yeah, she just lives in that space. And I again, like, how do we start to shift this pandemic? How do we start to help people? I mean, suicide's at an all-time high. That's affected me personally, having lost a battle buddy from Afghanistan to suicide in 2016. Like, how do we get out in front of this and start to help people have that shift?
I think it comes back to those two things that we talked about right at the beginning was who are you and what are you here to give? What is your mission? What is your purpose? What are you supposed to be doing? So I just know that I know when I work with people and I'm mentoring them over the phone, if I'm hearing them say, I'm depressed, I'm empty, I'm aimless, I feel hopeless, I'm stuck in my life. Like if I'm hearing stuff like that, I know that person's been yanked so far off their soul path, they don't even know who they are anymore, nor do they know what their gifts are or what they're supposed to contribute to humanity. Like, I think each of us came here with a roadmap of what we knew we wanted to contribute, and we got to get on it, or we're going to start feeling empty and lost and full of anxiety and full of depression. It's interesting to, like, when you start tracking very successful, influential people who have made it all the way to the top of whatever it is that they're climbing to the top of, so many of those people say the same thing. I feel empty. I feel lost. Like, now what? So I'm going to ask you this, Tyson, when you're working with people, because I know you mentor people too, just like I do, and lots of work over the phone, lots of one-on-one with people and conversations. What are some of the things that you do to help people reconnect to who they are?
You know, I actually like to go into the space of asking them, okay, strip away all of your feelings of anxiety just for a minute. Let's connect to you. What do you want? What do you enjoy? And sometimes the what do they want question spins into, well, I don't want. And I'm like, no, stop. Let's get back to what do you want? And what brings you joy? If you could do anything and have sufficient for your needs income wise and make sure that there's food on your table for your family, what would it be? And when they actually stop to think about that, might be something completely different than what they're doing. Sometimes it is what they're doing. They're just doing it with the wrong approach. But getting them to get into that space and then ask them why. Why is that thing? And they'll tell you what they get out of it. They tell you the reward of doing that thing. And then I'm generally like, well, then just do it. And they're like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, just do it. And they're like, well, but I haven't. And they give you all the reasons they can't do it. And I'm like, I'm not saying quit your job and run away with the circus if you want to be a bearded lady, right? Okay, that's probably a terrible example. But what I'm saying is maybe you could on the weekend, right, advertise on Craigslist to be a clown for birthday parties. You know, I don't know, whatever your passion is, start small.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, how did I get into this line of work? Well, my favorite part of being in the military actually wasn't killing people and breaking their stuff. That actually really sucks, which also got me PTSD, which got me to the place where I would realize, what do I like about it? I love spending time with people and helping them to realize who they are and what their dreams are, and then help facilitate them getting on a path to making that happen. Like, the most sacred moments of my whole career had nothing to do with war and combat and everything to do with connecting with the people that I was doing those things with.
Yeah.
And then helping them and blessing their lives, and then letting them bless my life.
Yeah.
And so I'm just taking what I'm passionate about and turn it into what I do.
Yeah, I can't think of anything more rewarding than that, than taking what you're passionate about and turning it into a way to facilitate helping other people, or helping other people level up or step into who they are too.
Yeah, my wife is very talented when it comes to anything craft related, and she actually saved our family's bacon financially multiple times with her ability to, she made handbags, and we had a whole line of handbags she sold online, and then she did digital artwork. And even that, at one point, because it became a business, which became a function for her that she had to do, she got burnt out on it because it had turned into something that it wasn't intended to be. And it's been awesome lately to watch her come back into that and go, I'm like, what'd you do today? And she's like, I sewed this thing, or I spent time on the computer designing this t-shirt, and she's designed t-shirts for me for Christmas and then given them to me. And they're awesome, and now she's doing what she's passionate about and loves with a purpose that has a genuine and authentic reason behind it, not bastardizing it and changing it from what it should be.
Yeah. And that's part of the problem with, I think, our culture, is that we've put so much pressure on making money with our gifts and our talents, and it just strips away the meaning and purpose in it. Because if there's pressure behind it, like if you're sewing because you're under pressure, that is not fun.
No.
That's not fun.
Nope. I've helped her sew under pressure, and I don't even like sewing. That made it like double not fun because I didn't even like it. And you taught me this principle too. I think this is a good place to insert this. I was actually lamenting and being mentored by Janet recently, and I was like, I hate money. And she was like, do you really hate money? I'm like, yeah, I hate it. Like, I hate everything about it. And she's like, do you really hate it? And then you teach the principle because you can articulate it better than I can, but teach everybody else what you taught me.
I think that money is just an energy that flows in to support whatever it is that you're passionate about and whatever it is that you love. And so if you're focused on the intention, let's go back to sewing, like if you're focused on sewing because you love it and because you love someone and you want to give that gift to someone or help facilitate love in someone else, then money's going to flow in to support that. But like if your focus is all on the money, then it's going to suck the life out of you. And that's why so many people who have climbed the ladders of success find themselves empty and aimless and drained with the life sucked out of them if their pursuit is just money. But money's just an energy that can facilitate good, or it can suck the life out of you.
Yeah, that's perfectly said. So this is a lesson that I've learned from Janet by connecting with her at an interpersonal level. Sorry, my phone rang. Should have turned it into airplane mode. It's something that I've always struggled with because I always had a false paradigm about it. And now that I've embraced that, it's been interesting because I have an abundance mentality, and I'm not over here trying to be rah, whatever new age stuff they try to talk about abundance mentality, because it gets overused. But I just realized that money's a resource, money is an energy, and money can be used to bless other people's lives. And money has blessed my life.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing what I'm doing at any given point for that purpose. But if I allow money to flow in based on what I'm doing, it will come in purely, and then I will help it to leave purely.
Yeah, it can actually be a greater expression of who you are. It can expand who you are and what you do. So the metaphor I use all the time is I really don't believe that God sits up on his throne, who really God is the author of all abundance. It flows from him to us. And I don't think he's ashamed of it. I don't think he sees abundance as evil. I don't think he's embarrassed that he has it. I think it's just it's a beautiful expression of his love for this universe and for his children. So we can come from that same standpoint, that it can be an expression of us, just depends on where we're at.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's expansive. It even magnifies what our mission is if we use it correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to insert a little quote that I saw today, maybe about an hour ago, by shout out to Daniel Adams. I'm friends with him on Facebook, and he's an influencer on Facebook. He's also a mentor. He does this kind of work too, but I just want to quote him. I thought what he said was so perfect. So he says this: life is short. We are made for so much more than working at some job. We are made for so much more than surviving draining relationships. We are made for so much more than trials and suffering. We are made to be kings and queens. We are made to be creators, and we're always creating. The thing you dream of is not governed by your worth, it's governed by law.
That's awesome.
I love that.
Yep. I think that one immediate reminder. So there's a lot going on right now about Kobe Bryant and him passing away, and it's extremely sad. And to be honest, I'll be completely honest. I'm a basketball player, been a basketball fan my whole life. I was not very much of a fan of Kobe Bryant, probably because I judged him early in his career based on what I perceived to be some arrogance, which, believe me, now looking back in my life, I've starred in the Arrogance movie plenty of times. But I've watched some clips, some of the highlights, some of the positive things that he said and did for people. And I realized, you know what? Like, I misjudged him. And I actually regret that I didn't try to connect a little bit better with the energy of his spirit. And now I am. Like, I'm not afraid to connect with somebody that I honestly, for a long time, viewed adversarially. I wasn't a Lakers fan either, which that's much to the chagrin of my father, who was a Lakers fan.
That didn't
But
help.
right. And I and just the human drama of all of it, and watching guys who he played against and guys that he even had adversarial relationships with on the court, who are all calling for that lifetime out. Like, wait a second, this is bigger and transcends rivalries on a basketball court. You know, the fame of winning a national championship in the NBA, most people can't tell you who won last year. I can't. I wasn't paying attention to basketball that closely. But they'll all tell you how they felt when they heard Kobe Bryant died and his daughter died in a plane crash, and the other families, the family that died, as well as the pilots. And it made people stop and review and go, what really is important? Mm-hmm. And I know people right now who are really traumatized about this, because they thought, 30 years from now, when they're 70 and he's 70, that we'd be watching a 30 for 30 on ESPN of this great basketball player, and they'd be interviewing him at age 70. That's not going to happen. Yeah. You feel the energy of that. Like, I can feel the energy of that. Yeah. And the sadness of that. Therefore what? Like, who? Go ahead.
I think the therefore what is so vital to, like, if you want to have fulfillment and meaning and purpose and even stability in your life, because we live in a world, like, face it, we live in a world that's really uncertain. We don't know what our future holds, and the future could be bright. It could be bleak. We don't know. But regardless of what comes in our future, man, if you can go within and tap into, this is who I am, like, it is what it is. My circumstances bombs are going off all around me. It is what it is. And I'm okay because I know who I am, and I know where I'm going, and I know what I'm here to do. And, like, I could be taken from the planet tonight and I would still be okay with that. I'm at peace because I know who I am. I know who I serve. I know where I come from, and I know where I'm going. So, like, it's kind of vital if you want to live a life of meaning instead of a life of mediocrity.
Yes. Yeah. I've another shameless plug for a guy out there named Jocko. And I know Janet knows that name, but he's a retired Navy SEAL, and I've really glommed onto a lot of things that he teaches as far as principles. And the one word that I use a lot now when things get sideways because of him is good. Because that's the purpose of all of this spin that happens around us. It's my opinion, and it's my testimony that God created this world to not be a seamless ride that doesn't have hiccups and bumps. Otherwise, everyone we know would always be happy.
Yeah. And
it's
then what's
supposed
the point?
to be different.
Yeah. Right? If you're happy all the time, you can't appreciate it.
Right. And he created this perfect world where choice happens, where stuff gets sideways and I get to make a choice. How do I feel about this? And Jocko is like, he just made a choice a long time ago when stuff was sideways. He's like, good, I'm going to learn something from this. This sucks. This is terrible and it's difficult, but some good is going to come out of it. And he embraced the good with the bad. And when it was all over, he could get rid of the bad and just hold on to the good. And he just kept building this treasure chest of experience that has now made him successful in the world of leadership training, because he had hard lessons that he learned. I mean, this guy stood up and owned a fratricide incident that happened in Iraq where people got killed on accident, like friendly fire situation. He owned it. He didn't sit there and whine about the circumstance that happened to him. He owned it, and he changed the face of a lot of things in that environment for a lot of people because he owned it.
Oh, there's value in that. Like if you can take responsibility and accountability, like take that accountability upon yourself for everything that happens in your life, that's freedom, because you're not a victim. Like you recognize, if I'm responsible for everything, then that means I can also change everything. I can choose to change whatever's going on too. And there's no victim mentality in that. There's no room for it. So that's total liberation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another video. Like, go and watch Jocko Extreme Ownership as well, and Good. Those are both really good. Get you into the mindset of controlling your destiny. That's the other thing, is that a lot of people that we work with, when they come to us with all of those symptoms, they feel helpless. They feel like, well, I can't do anything to change this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you really believe that, then why are you sitting here right now talking to me on the phone? Or why are we sitting in person talking? And they're like, oh. And I'm like, you're here because you actually do believe you can fix it. Otherwise, why would you try? Why would you even be here? And when they go, oh, I am taking ownership of this, then the light switch goes on, and then we start getting somewhere. And it's a miracle. It's amazing to watch.
I love that. So I was just going to ask you, as we kind of wrap this up, I was going to ask you, what are some things that you do to help your people that you mentor with, to help them level up and step more deeply into who they are? And clearly one of them is taking ownership, taking responsibility for everything in your life. Can you think of one more? And then I'll share one.
Sure. You go first, and then I'll share mine. How about that?
Okay. Yeah. So one of my favorite things to do with people when they clearly have been yanked off of their soul's path is to help get them quiet and still, and I have them go inside. And most people have not spent a whole lot of time inside of taking their awareness and their attention and going into the body, because we're so distracted by the external world. We think that the external should provide us with all the things that we want, but yet most people don't realize you already are everything that you're looking for. Like if you say that you want a pile of money or a new relationship, all that stuff is external. But why do you want the pile of money and the new relationship? Probably because you want to feel secure and you want to feel loved. Well, that sense of security and that feeling of love is within, and it is who you are. So I take them on a journey and go inside of themselves. And most people are unfamiliar with that. And it's really beautiful to watch them wake up and connect with the feelings that are in there of who they really are. So that's mine.
That's awesome. I was going to say something very similar. There's a symbol in Judeo-Christian history that is a square with a circle on the inside of it.
Yeah.
And the symbolism of that, somebody opened my eyes to it the other day, and it blew my mind. I was like, oh my goodness. We are all circles inside of a square right now. We are infinite beings having a finite experience, a mortal experience. And no wonder we're always at odds with ourselves, right? Because we're like, internally, our higher self is like, I'm better than this. I know more than this. I can do better than this. And then we're like run into all these parameters in this fallen world, I guess you could say, or this finite world. And we're like, wait, what? This doesn't compute. And so we're trying to consciously be this higher self in a in a in a constricted environment, and no one ever slows down, like you said, to go to that place of being still and quiet and inside of themselves to say, okay, this is the parameters we're operating in right now, but it's okay, because inside my internal universe can still be at peace, even with limitations or protracted processes to make it to goals or whatever the case is in the external world. And being still, like, I'll never forget, for me, a huge shift was being in inpatient treatment for PTSD with a group of veterans, and literally learning to be still for the first time in my life, because it was
Wow.
always got to go, got to do, got to go, got to do, got to go, got to do. That mission's done. Let's go to the next one. This is done. Let's go to the next one. And getting to a place where I just learned how to be still was like a huge, huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
And I let go of all those tethers of this earth, this world that we're in, and just grabbed onto what I knew was eternal within myself, an unlimited being, and stayed in that truth. And then the universe is opening to me.
Yeah. I've said to my clients multiple times, what's the definition of infinity? And so they try to define it, which you can't. You can't define infinity, or then you limit it. And then now it's not infinite, but infinity, basically, it's eternal, it's forever. And you, somewhere inside of here, are infinite. It's that peaceful circle that's just one continuous eternal round in there. So when I take people inside, it's almost like their infinite self is leaning up against the wall going, hey, hi, like, welcome home. I'm love, I'm peace, I'm infinite. What do I have to worry about?
Yeah.
Nothing. Like, infinity
Yeah.
can't run out of time. It can't die. It can't lose anything. It can't have anything taken from it, because it is everything. So if you're coming from your infinite self space, you're coming from there, there is no threat.
No. Yeah, I had the same experience, basically, where my higher self had to tell my conscious self, the hand wringing warrior, to get in the back seat of our life. Like,
Yeah.
literally forcefully say, I've been doing this for eons. You've been at this for 40 years, which in God's time is like 7.7 seconds. And my infinite self is like, get your butt in the back seat. I'm driving. And then slowly invited my conscious self. As my conscious self became aware of the wisdom of my higher self and the efficiency of my higher self, I became one again. I actually had a friend look at me. She's very clairvoyant, and she looked at me and said, I see two of you. You're at odds with yourself. And I was like, what? And then I was like, she's right. Because my conscious self was fighting against the infinite. Like, my proximate square self was fighting against this infinite being. And my infinite being's over here, like you said, just like, hi, I'm here. I know how to do this.
Yeah.
Are you going to invite me in? And it, like I said, for me, it was a hostile takeover, but it worked.
That's right. Well, like, when you let your egoic self drive the vehicle, it's like letting a 2-year-old drive a car down the freeway. Like, it doesn't know how to navigate. It's not even qualified to do that job.
Yeah. Yep. It ends up bad, for sure.
Yeah.
Bad
All
program.
right. I'm going to give you the final word, and then we're going to wrap up.
I'm going to go back to how we started. Like, I'm living the life of Buddy the Elf. I have to go. I do some work at a local boys' home with some boys who really struggle with decisions they're making in life, and I'm going to walk in there today and just, like, find joy in everything. I'm going to be lovingly obnoxious with that joy that's just going to come out of me, because they haven't seen a lot of that in their lives. And I won't be over the top like Buddy the Elf, but I will make sure that they know that I'm somebody who knows how to be happy. So
Yeah. I think I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make a concentrated effort to be more present with the people who are in my presence, And I hope you guys do the same thing. And I hope you enjoyed this podcast. There's going to be more. We're just going to share with you stuff that we've learned from our own mistakes, but also things that we've observed and witnessed as we've mentored other people and been in contact with lots and lots of other people as they're on their soul's path and their soul's journey. So we're looking forward to sharing more of these podcasts with you. If you guys have ideas or input as to what we could call it, that would be awesome. Feel free to drop that wherever these videos are going to be posted. And as always, reach out to us if you would like to do mentoring or if you'd like to get to know us better. All right, everybody, have a blessed rest of the day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.